September 6, 1944. The approaches to Metz, the ancient fortress city guarding the Moselle River, were overwhelmed by rain, mud, and a German defense that refused to break. Then a message came through that changed everything. Enemy forces reorganizing. Behind Metz. Fortifications appear active. The man receiving it was Lieutenant General George S. Patton, commander of the U.S. Third Army, and what would unfold over the next 77 days would redefine how the Allies understood warfare against fortified cities. This is the story of that moment and the decisions that followed. At that moment, the U.S. Third Army had outrun its fuel and was slamming into the fully manned defensive belts surrounding Metz fortifications designed in the 1800s and enhanced by the Germans in both World Wars. If Metz held, the Germans would anchor their entire western front on a position the Allies had not planned to breach head-on. If Metz fell, the Third Army would break into the Saar industrial region and destabilize the German defense all the way to the Rhine. Commanders across the Western Front feared this was the moment the Germans would regain the initiative. The situation was collapsing fast. Hours earlier, at Patton's forward command post near Verdun, the top officers had gathered. The atmosphere was cold, tense, and sharp with the smell of wet canvas and burning fuel. Reports piled in German counterattacks near Arnaville, the failure to secure bridgeheads, and the alarming note that several of Metz's forts were still fully armed and manned. Then Patton asked the question hanging over everyone in the tent. Do we attack Metz or bypass it and leave a fortress at our backs? One by one, the generals shifted uncomfortably around the map tables. Bypassing was risky. Attacking was worse. Nobody wanted Metz. Not the planners, not the engineers, not the corps commanders. Then Patton spoke. Against every recommendation, Patton made a promise. We will take Metz, and we will crack it open by maneuver, not by sacrificing divisions against stone walls. He proposed a plan few believed possible. He would move 3 divisions, pivot them across multiple river lines, and coordinate attacks on Metz's outer forts within 72 hours. Silence swept through the tent. It sounded impossible. The terrain was a defender's dream: rivers, cliffs, forests, and concrete forts built to survive modern artillery. Even his superior, General Omar Bradley, questioned him during a phone conference. George, are you sure? Metz is a fortress, not a town. Patton replied simply, I mean what I say. After the call ended, Bradley quietly pulled his chief of staff aside. According to his personal notes, he whispered, I'm gambling on George. If Metz stops him, the Germans will stabilize the whole front. Privately, Bradley wondered if Patton's relentless momentum was finally colliding with a reality even he could not break. Yet he admitted that if anyone could outthink a fortress designed to stop armies, it was Patton. In a letter later written to his wife, Bradley confessed, Patton's energy is exhausting to manage, but his results are difficult to argue against. Over the next days, reports streamed into Third Army headquarters. Astonishingly, Patton's divisions were doing it. The 5th Infantry Division forced crossings of the Moselle under rain and fire. The 90th Infantry Division maneuvered around the German flanks, slipping through forest corridors the Germans believed impassable. The 7th Armored and 3rd Cavalry Groups screened the approaches, misleading German observers into believing Patton was preparing a frontal assault, breaking contact, pivoting battalions, and pushing supply convoys over half-flooded roads. They covered more than 40 miles of maneuver movement in terrain designed to stop exactly this kind of operation. The operation was no longer bold. It was becoming extraordinary. Then, on September 27th, the message came. German counterattack forming on our right. Elements of the 559th Volksgrenadier Division reinforced. Patton rushed to the operations tent. Bradley was already on the line. George, are you still pressing the Moselle crossings? Patton answered, We're through to Arnaville. The line holds. Metz won't break us. For the first time since September 6th, the staff saw Patton pause. He exhaled slowly just once. His shoulders eased. Bradley replied simply, "Proceed." The success of the Moselle crossings changed everything. Metz's ring of forts had been breached on its eastern approaches. Morale surged across the Third Army. American newspapers, which had been quietly concerned about the stall at Metz, printed their first optimistic assessments. In private messages to Eisenhower, Bradley admitted, "Patton delivered something no other general could. He forced a crossing against a fortress." But he added a warning. "Metz is not yet ours. The fight ahead will be brutal." It was a complicated, tense relationship, admiration mixed with caution, confidence mixed with exasperation. During this period, Bradley wrote in his diary, "Patton strains every command relationship he touches, but he continues to achieve results where others pause. Metz is testing all of us." Patton, in his own journal, was even more direct. "Metz must be taken by brains, not by blood. I will maneuver them out of those forts." To General Eisenhower he sent a note that read, "We shall reduce Metz's defenses. It will not be quick, but it will be certain." And to his staff he admitted, "Every instinct tells me the enemy believes we fear Metz. That alone gives us the advantage." By October, the campaign slowed. Weather worsened. The Germans reinforced positions. Patton knew he needed a single, overwhelming blow, something decisive. He chose the date, November 8, 1944. The day he would launch the operation to take Metz once and for all. November 8, 1944. A storm crashed over northern France. Sheets of rain, flooded streams, and fog heavy enough to hide entire battalions. Then the message came across Patton's field phone. "Assault elements ready." This was the moment Patton had demanded. And what happened over the next 14 days would break a fortress no one wanted to attack. The situation was again precarious. If Metz held through November, the Germans could counterattack the Allied front using weather and fortified positions as shields. If Metz fell, it would open the Saar, the industrial heart of Germany. Every hour mattered. Hours before the attack, Patton convened his commanders in a stone farmhouse near Nancy. Mud clung to boots. Maps covered every table. Artillery officers delivered reports of thick fog and limited visibility. Then Patton asked, "Can we maintain momentum in this weather?" Silence. The operations chief hesitated. Then Patton leaned forward and said, "We attack now. The Germans think the weather protects them. We use it to blind them." The gamble was massive. But everyone in the room knew one thing. Patton rarely gambled without a calculation others missed. Patton issued another bold promise. "We will take the fort belt from the north and the south simultaneously. Infantry will fix them. Armor will isolate them. Artillery will break their will." Some officers were skeptical. Metz had more than 40 major and minor forts, interlocking fields of fire, and underground passages. Weather reports projected 10 straight days of rain. General Walker, commanding an army division, raised a concern. "General, this is a fortress system, not a city fight." Patton replied, "Fortresses are built by men. They can be taken by men." That night, Bradley noted in his private log, "If Patton fails at Metz, the press will draw blood, and the Germans will gain time. I am trusting him because I must not, because this operation is comfortable." Still, something told him Patton understood fortified warfare at a level others did not. The gamble stood. From November 8th to November 17th, Patton's forces executed one of the most complex maneuvers of the European campaign. The 95th Infantry Division advanced from the north, squeezing German defenders toward the river. The 5th Infantry Division crossed under fire and isolated the southern forts. Combat engineers bridged streams in freezing rain. Artillery units fired through fog so thick that spotters could barely see beyond 300 yards. In 14 days, Patton had achieved the unthinkable. He had encircled Metz, isolating its forts, cutting supply lines, and turning a fortress into a series of trapped, starving islands. Even German officers later admitted they had not expected a coordinated assault in such weather. The impossible was becoming reality. On the morning of November 22nd, the call came into 3rd Army headquarters. "General, Metz is surrendering in sectors, several forts requesting terms." Patton stepped into the communications tent. Rain hammered the canvas. He picked up the handset. "Who is speaking?" "Colonel Heinkes, sir. We are through the Moselle line. The city is open." For one of the very few times his staff could recall, Patton paused. His voice softened. "Say it again. You're through?" Confirmation came back steady. Metz, fortress of emperors, nightmare of planners, had fallen. The impact was immediate. The Third Army's morale skyrocketed. The German high command was stunned. Fortresses were supposed to buy them time until winter. American newspapers praised the Third Army's textbook breach of fortified terrain. Bradley wrote to Eisenhower, "Patton has achieved what we believed was improbable. No other Army group commander could have done this operation so efficiently." But he also added, "George remains a force that must be guided, not unleashed." It was an honest reflection of their complicated professional bond. In letters home, Bradley described how close the operation came to failing in September and again in early November. In his diary, he wrote, "Patton's instinct for timing is unmatched. He infuriates me, yet delivers battles others avoid. Metz has forced me to accept that his method, unpredictable as it is, produces victories." Patton, writing that night, recorded, "The enemy believed Metz was impregnable, but no fortress can stand once it is divided. Maneuver is the essence of war. Today proved it again." To a British counterpart, he sent a short note, "Metz has fallen. Onward." The fall of Metz did more than break a fortress. It opened the way into the Saar Basin, Germany's industrial heartland. It proved that fortifications, even centuries old, could be defeated by mobility and coordination rather than massed infantry assaults. And it reshaped how Patton's command viewed him: brilliant, unconventional, and undeniably effective against complex operational problems. From that moment, the Third Army trusted Patton's instincts almost without hesitation. If this moment of leadership under impossible pressure resonated with you, subscribe for more untold stories from World War II. Tell me in the comments which commander, unit, or forgotten operation you want next.